the NFL draft. Let's move in to the glaring, the obvious, the disaster that has struck Atlanta.
Wow.
Michael Penix. Before you get into your take, I do want to read you something that Terry Fontenot said to Arthur Blank.
Terry Fontenot.
He said, Fontenot. It's going to be Fontenot after this year. I promise you that.
Definitely.
He said, if we don't do a quarterback this year, then what's going to be there next year? The year after? When are we going to be able to do it? Are we going to win for a couple of seasons and then not be able to win anymore to pull that off? I got something for you, Terry. You were very close to a Super Bowl team, and you could have got a draft pick to push you in to a very secure playoff win, but instead, you go and spend your number 8 draft pick on a backup quarterback for the foreseeable future, maybe 4 or 5 years, you've said. This is a completely wasted draft pick. It made no sense. I've heard people try to, back the claim up and back the pick up. I don't buy it. What say you?
What team did you say did this?
That would be Atlanta.
Oh, okay, it makes sense because dysfunctional teams do things like this. Taking a QB isn't that crazy. Like, it is kind of crazy after taking Kirk Cousins, but if they had taken J.J. McCarthy, a Drake May, okay, I actually can see it. The problem isn't taking a quarterback. The problem is taking Michael Penix Jr., not because he's not talented. Quite the contrary, because he's very talented and because he's 24 years old. Coming into this draft, it was a consensus thought that Drake May probably needs to sit for a little while, at least a year or so. He's a little raw. A lot of people could say the same thing about J.J. McCarthy. I kind of disagree, but either way, it's like, yeah, he might could sit for a year or two. There was no one who thought Bo Nix, Michael Penix, or Caleb Williams needed to sit. They're ready to play now. They've had full college careers. They played 4 or 5 years. Jaden Daniels, he's played a long time too. Michael Penix is 24 years old. Kirk Cousins, you have him at minimum 2 years. Okay, absolute minimum 2 years. Even if you cut him after 2 years, you'd be taking on $20+ million in dead cap. So that means if all goes according to plan, your number 8 selection will take the field as the starter for the first time at age 26. 26 years old, you're going to put a guy out there for the first time. And that's best case scenario. The other big part of this is the money. We talk about it all the time.
Money.
The biggest benefit to having a rookie quarterback is that rookie quarterback contract because you're not paying him anything, so you can go and put that money in other resources. Look what the Houston Texans have done. Buffalo did it with Josh Allen. Cincinnati did it. Kansas City did that. So why are you going to go pay Kirk Cousins all this money and then draft Michael Penix? So even if Kirk Cousins is good, or if he's not and you end up going to the kid and Michael Penix is great, even if he's spectacular, you have totally screwed yourself out of the benefit that is the rookie contract. That $100 million plus you spent on Kirk Cousins, think of the players you could have added in free agency. This is a clear example of an organization that had absolutely no plan. They went out, they signed Kirk Cousins in free agency, which, okay, good, I'm fine with that. And then they went and fell in love with this Michael Penix kid, and instead of being rational and saying, look, we can't create a situation. This doesn't make sense. We're with Kirk Cousins. We'll address quarterback after Kirk leaves. They tried to have their cake and eat it too and act like it was a good idea. There is no situation where this makes sense.
The defense that I've seen brought up a lot is they don't want to get back into the Ritter-Heineke debacle, right? But my counter to that is saying, well, you've paid Kirk Cousins. You've paid your Lamborghini money to Kirk Cousins. I get that you're concerned that he has the Achilles injury and he's
then
likely...
Don't pay him.
Right. That should have been handled then. So you can't go back and fall on that and say, well, we drafted Penix because we're worried about Cousins' injury history. If that was the case, you shouldn't have written the check anyway, right? So let's put that off the table. So you've got Lamborghini money sitting over here. You go and buy like a Nissan Rogue to park it in the garage and be a resource if you need it one day if the Lamborghini breaks down. Well, the problem is you're living inside of a dump. So you have all these nice cars, but nothing else surrounding them, protecting them, right? This is all the other players on the Atlanta team. You could have invested these picks, or this number 8 pick, into a highly touted wide receiver for Kirk Cousins, a great lineman to protect the old man. If you're worried about his injury, protect him. Right? Yeah, that's all you have to do. So now you've not only screwed the pooch with the money situation, but you've also probably ruined Michael Penix's career, or at least the first part of it, because God knows how long that dude's going to have to sit on the bench behind Kirk Cousins.
That's exactly right. And a defensive player hadn't gone off the board yet. You could have gotten your pick of defensive players. They still need edge rusher. That's why people had them mocking a Dallas Turner to him. You could have got Turner. You could have got a Dunze. You could have got a Brock Bowers. Hell, I don't care that you got Kyle Pitts, Latte Latu, Brian Murphy, like Chop Robinson. The list is endless. That's what I don't have a problem with Michael Penix being selected number 8 overall. Even though I'm not a big Michael Penix fan, like I actually loved him in college. I just don't think he's going to work in the NFL personally. I hope I'm wrong because I really like the person, but I'm not going to knock anybody for taking a quarterback high. Like some people are wanting to judge Denver for taking Bo Nix where they took him. If you think that's your guy, you got to go get him. The problem isn't that Michael Penix went number 8. I don't want anyone to think the outrage is over Michael Penix. No, congratulations to him. I don't blame anybody for picking him at 8.
I'm sad for Michael Penix.
Exactly. He's getting the short end of the stick, dude. Like, he should be starting right now. He's 24 years old. He's ready to play. He doesn't need to sit on the bench. And here, Ryan, here's the other thing. Whatever you say, when they say, oh, we don't want to create a controversy, they said this, the general manager and the coach Morris, they literally said, Kirk Cousins isn't going to have to be looking over his shoulder every time. Well, he is, man. You can say that he's not, but inherently he is. When you draft a quarterback number 8 overall, Ryan, what do you think is going to happen when they start, if they start 2-3, and then Kirk Cousins has a game where he throws 3 picks? It doesn't matter what the coach wants. The fans are going to be fucking rabid. The media is going to be tearing you apart. It's going to get in Kirk Cousins' head. And here's the thing. People say don't react to the fans, but the team's going to react to it. They're going to see Penix killing it at practice, and they're going to know we're 2-4, and it just starts a controversy. You have set yourself up to be in such a bad situation.
Yeah, and you already have Kirk Cousins' agent coming out, and even Kirk Cousins, I mean, he's an upstanding dude, right? He's not going to come out and say that he just completely hated this pick.
He'll just tell the agent to do it.
That's exactly right. They're the fall guy, right? Like, that's what they're there for. They get paid enough to be the guy that is really the talking head for whatever representative they have.
I mean, I don't blame him for being upset.
Of course not, man. Like, I don't know.
But I'll say, when you chase the bag, because Kirk, look, I'm not knocking you. Dude, go get your money. I'm not. However, you could have stayed in Minnesota for less money and been 100% the dude. When you go and take risks like this and say, I'm going to the highest bidder, well, man, you know, they don't have the loyalty to you that Minnesota or something does. So you can't, I don't think he should act surprised that this happened, even though inherently you would be. But that's kind of the situation he put himself in.
I don't know about that he shouldn't act surprised. I think he could act surprised with the rest of us and the entire rest of the world because nobody saw this coming. I looked through so many mock drafts as leading up to the actual draft. When we did our mock drafts, we did 2 of them. And, you know, not once did I ever see Michael Penix go into Atlanta.
It reminds me, and I know you don't know this reference, but it reminds me of the Disney Star Wars movies, where you go and see the first one, and you're like, that's a pretty good movie. We enjoyed it. And then you go and see the second one, and it's not good. And then the third one's not good either. And it's like, oh, they had no plan. They were just flying by the seat of their pants from movie to movie, instead of saying, here's the plan from the beginning of these 3 movies. It was the same thing with Atlanta. There is no scenario where they shouldn't have had enough recon on Michael Penix when they signed Kirk Cousins. They signed Kirk Cousins at the beginning of March. You already have scouts. Maybe you're not totally tuned in to Michael Penix, but he's on your radar at that point, right? You're not clueless. I mean, the draft's 2 months away. So you can't tell me that you went and signed Cousins and then decided to draft Penix. You obviously already had your eye on him. So it's trying to have your cake and eat it too. And it's a team that is just dysfunctional and doesn't understand how to operate successful business.
If you wanted to feel secure and get a quarterback in this draft, right? If you wanted to back Kirk Cousins, easy for me to say, if you want to back Kirk Cousins up, why not do it with a less expensive pick than your number 8, right? Like, now you have potentially 2 number 1s on your team. And
because it's not about a backup, Ryan. They got him to be a starter. They weren't drafting a backup quarterback. They drafted him to be a future starter.
A starter in 5 years.
Which, by the way, did you hear where they said at the press conference, they were like, if Penix sits 4 or 5 years, he was like, that's a good thing for us. It's like,
hey,
what are you talking about?
Penix, he's not going to sit for 5 years.
No, it's not happening.
He's going to be picking up that phone as fast as he can to get the heck out of Atlanta. And I don't blame him. And maybe Atlanta is sitting on a maybe a decent little trade there, but still, like, why? I've worked this every way I possibly can, and it doesn't make sense. The numbers don't add up at the end of the equation. It's a terrible. This is a fireable offense if you're asking me.
100%.
Like,
Raheem Morris, I can't let him off the hook either. Sorry. Like, I have to blame the whole organization. I did just look. Spencer Rattler went like 20 picks before Jordan Travis, also in the 5th round. So those were the guys. You got Michael Pratt from Tulane. He went somewhere in there. He, could end up being a starter.
You could have got Spencer Rattler in 4th or 5th round, right? And at least had your starter in 4 or 5 years, right?
Right.
And the whole thing that Terry said to Arthur Blanks about like when if we don't move now, then when? I don't know. How about 2 years from now? You find the college talent that's coming out and you get a quarterback then. Like,
right. Not after we've given up a $150 million contract. Even if we move on from Cousins after 2 years, we've still got $25 million in dead money. That's what I can't get over, dude. You've wasted the rookie contract. Say best case scenario. Say even this, and I'm just saying, say Kirk Cousins sucks and they say screw it and bench him this season.
Say he gets hurt. I think that's more likely than him sucking.
I don't want to wish injury on anybody, but I'm just saying, say he ends up getting put on the bench
for whatever
reason.
But you wish suckiness on him, no problem.
I'm just saying.
Hope you don't get hurt, but man, you could suck it up this year.
Throw a couple picks. Say he's on the bench and they put Penix in and Penix is terrific and they're like, he's our starter going forward. You would think, oh, well, that's a great scenario. They found their starter. Well, it's not because you've paid $150 million.
You have duffel bags full of money sitting on your bench over there.
That's exactly
right.
You're
strapped for cash now. And guess who's going to pick up Kirk Cousins' contract? Nobody.
No one, because they can't anyway because of the way they did the guaranteed. And, what's that? He's got a no trade clause. What is best case scenario for Atlanta? Would best case scenario be Kirk Cousins plays 2 years, is great. They go to the playoffs, make deep playoff runs, and then Penix takes over and is great. And then people be like, see, we told you so. It's like, well, it's not I told you so because your quarterback's starting for the first time at 26 and you've wasted the rookie contract. That's best case scenario.
I think Atlanta's going to find their way close to the top of that division at least every single year with Kirk Cousins and the talent that they have at Atlanta. That's the other thing that kind of rattles my brain is you have the Bijan, you have Kyle Pitts, you have all
Drake
these
London,
Drake London, you have all these talented pieces around you. Like you have what you need. The formula for a Super Bowl is starting to fit together. Like it's starting to make sense. And then you take like a big eraser straight through the equation. And now it's all jumbled up because you drafted Michael Penix at pick number 8. So I don't get it. Best case scenario, this is always going to be a blemish on that record. It's not going to go away. This will always be talked about, even if best case scenario happens